Well, is this going to be the night that Marcus Byfeld does not win a race in the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan's Oval Series? He's dominated the first two races, taking victory each time, but we are here tonight for the Additon 250 from Richmond Raceway, round 3 of the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan's Oval Series. It's myself, Cam Roger, Ewan O'Leary alongside me, and Dane Baird on the production of this RaceSpotTV broadcast as we bring you 208 laps of action of some short track racing. It's going to be a whole load of fun tonight. Here's the schedule. What we've had so far is Nashville and Auto Club. As mentioned, Byfeld winning both of those races. He did struggle a little bit at times in the previous race because of the strategy decisions that came out due to the cautions, but managed to come out on top in the end. However, it is starting to turn into a bit of a domination. So let's see what is going to happen as we get our way to the midpoint of the season. It's a 20-point gap as it stands, with Marcus Hogman in second place, who's having a great start to this season. 2 top 5 finishes already. And Linus Broström is there in third place. He has some penalty points to his name, so he would be a little bit closer. But as ever, the positions are pretty close in behind with 1 point per position. Let's see how it goes as we reach a third of the way through the season after tonight's race. We got a whole load of fun tracks coming our way in this sort of condensed season that we've got this year in 2026. Of course, we've got Echo Park, New Hampshire, Kansas, Bristol, Talladega, Homestead, the finale in May. Whole load of racing till then. But we go out into the qualifying session, Ewan, and we are going to be seeing, can someone challenge Marcus? He's been doing such a good job on the road course series as well. He's really just dominating at the moment and already up on the front row in qualifying.
It's bizarre, isn't it? We're so used to seeing him, do so well in the road series, dominating that. I mean, seasons have been over for weeks before they've actually been finished as far as the championship is concerned because of Marcus Byfeld in the past. Well, it's the Oval Series this time round he's stitching together, and it's not just the 2 wins, it's the lack of consistency from those behind. Only 2 of the drivers have joined him in the top 5 on both occasions, Marcus Hogman and Linus Broström. Only one of the drivers, other than those 3, has been in the top 10 on both occasions, Peter Helmbro, who's currently in 6th in points. So it's really about, as much as it is about Byfeld winning both races for sure, it is also a little bit about the slow start from the rest of the field.
Certainly indeed. Linus Broström, though, he's doing his best to challenge with that. He has struggled a little bit here and then, some of these strategic decisions, but you never know when the caution is going to come out. And one thing that we've had the last couple of seasons, here in season 9 and at the end of 2025 when we had season 8 of this championship, we now have the stage cautions coming back into it. So you know that you're going to have that. And then you're limited to 4 sets of tyres, but the race ends up being 4 stints. So your 3 pit stops are fairly, set in stone. So that does change things a little bit. So then you have to risk it a bit sometimes when a caution comes out. But it looks like as the qualifying comes to an end, it's going to be Alex Additon up towards the front. He got a race win last season. Is he going to be able to do that this time around? It's going to be a whole load of different style of racing though today. We've got 208 laps. The stage is on lap 70, and we're looking at fuel to last about 90 to 100 laps, which means you can get to the stage in terms of fuel. That's not a problem. But then we are going to have a pit stop after that to get to the end. So there's a minimum of 2 stops, 3 sets of tyres, and therefore we have 1 random set and that drivers may decide to use at certain points if a caution comes out at a certain point. Having said that, we only had 4 cautions here last year. Here's your grid though for today's Additon 250. Additon's on the front row with Marcus Byfeld, Linus Broström, Jonas Gunnarsson, Ericsson and Holmer round out the front 3 roads. So a stacked field up towards the front. Uvenen, Lundberg, Leppit, Bohlin, Kenneth Tier and Robert Eriksson round out the top 12. And of course, it continues on with Marcus Hogman, who is going to be going from P13. And alongside him, Håkan Schott, who, by the way, this is his 100th start in this championship on the Oval Series. That is a great marker. And also, fun fact, is our 100th race tonight. So he's done every single race in the Oval Series. Forsberg, Giros, Motin and Bulka round out the top 18. And then towards the back, we have Kjellberg, Broström, Eck, Helmbro, Erling, and Skoglund. The two drivers at the back, they're not setting times, along with Marcus Stiller, as ever, in the 0-13, doing a last to first challenge, which seems to be going pretty well for him. But yes, Ewan, 100 races in this series, a lot of drivers sitting on 99 starts, missing a race here and there. But in the last 5 years, almost to this day, Hockenschott has done every single Oval Series race.
That's remarkable, isn't it? You could speculate about the state of his Thursdays otherwise, but that's not the point. It's a great achievement for him to have been here the entire time, and a great commitment to this series indeed, that we've had Hockenschott every single time, and he's there or thereabouts each week as well. It gets a pretty standard qualifying from him to be 14th place here at Richmond. Expect to see him maybe float up the field at some point throughout the evening as well. There he is on the grid, ready to go in the 101 as always, and that's one thing I enjoy about Hockenschott as well. He's got a very distinctive car, and you know exactly who he is because he's got 101 every time. It's very helpful.
And also, he uses every bit of real estate on that door. It is the biggest number I've ever seen. And therefore, if he's number 101, next week will be race 101 as well for him, assuming that he shows up, I say next week, 2 weeks' time, when we go to Echo Park for round 4 of the season. There's 9 total races. We have a couple of drop rounds in there. So those who had some bad starts to the season, they'll need to do good races from now to the end to pick up some points. But for Marcus Byfeld, he's already locking in some of those good results and can afford a bad result here and there. But looking at it, Ewan, as we get onto the double pace lap we've got here, Marcus Byfeld from that front row certainly looking like he's not slowing down.
No, he's not, and Alexander Additon now really taking it to him, which I think is absolutely fantastic for us. We're going to need somebody to stand up and be counted in these races from here on in. Additon only 13th in the standings after a poor round at Nashville. He did have a good week a couple of weeks ago, though, to move up 11 places in one go. He'll be maybe a little bit disappointed he didn't win last week, or last round, I should say, at Auto Club rather. See whether he can go well at Richmond here tonight as well. And there's Broström there in 3rd place. Going to be interesting to see off the start from him. He's going to have the inside line, of course, and if the outside is not going to be coming in early, which we don't know yet, we're not gone racing, then Broström could very easily find himself up in 2nd pretty much straight away.
And another drive to look out for is Jesper Eriksson, 3rd row on the inside, the 37. He, of course, champion in this series, is not doing all of the races, so maybe a thorn in the side of some of these drivers tonight. But the Additon 250 from Richmond Raceway round 3 at the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan's Oval Series for 2026 is getting underway, and the pole sitter Additon in the number 24 has got a great run to the inside of turn number 1, and actually for 2nd place Byfeld is looking strong as well. He's had a big set up the inside for Linus Broström. He's going to try and fight him as we get to the back straight.
Down the back straight, it looks like Additon's going to hold on, but that outside line already showing itself to be relatively strong. Ubernen, contact there. He must have been hit behind. It's a good save through 3 and 4, and we stay green.
Certainly do. He's slow. A lot of cars getting past him, though, and he didn't sort of cause a bottleneck, but the drivers heading quickly in towards lap number 2 of this race. 200-odd laps, but they're going to go quickly around here. Less than 30 seconds per lap. So, in theory, just over an hour and a half of racing, but we'll see how that one goes as we get to lap number 3. Look how tight it is at the front. Broström's actually lost to places. Eriksson from 5th place is actually working his way up into 3rd already, making 2 positions. Gunnarsson has gone down to 5th.
Still side by side for 3rd, and Broström will now finally tuck in behind Jesper Eriksson. As you pointed out, from row 3 was always going to be looking to move forward, and he has done up into 3rd place. But what a race this could be if these front 5 or so do have the speed that it looks like they have at the moment. Gunnarsson goes down the inside of Broström now to move to 4th place, but there's nothing to choose between this front 5 right now.
All caution comes out though. Lap number 4. We've got a car spun around. Is that Kenneth Sear? No, it's not. Lars Bolker in the 372 machine. There was certainly other cars stopped there. The Polski Aviation Division driver has had a bit of a coming together, I think, with another car as we worked our way into turn 1. It's an interesting front straight here because you're basically turning left the whole time, but it's not like other tracks where it's just sort of a little kink. It is a proper hard left turn the whole way, so I wouldn't be surprised if there's some lateral movement and a little bit of a tag on the rear left corner can easily swap a driver around. But first caution of the day, everyone slows down. I wonder if anyone's even contemplating going in, because to be honest, with how long the fuel is, and I don't think it makes sense to do anything, even if there's a caution like 20 laps time.
Well, yeah, interesting you say that. I think we will most likely see drivers use these first set of tyres to go right the way to the end of stage one. Stage one, by the way, coming after 70 laps, the only stage, of course, in these races, means that the race effectively is split up. The first third is very defined. We know there's going to be a caution after lap 70, and that's after a third of this race. As I always say, in my mind, you want to use your tyres for sort of each third of the race, and that leaves you one set down in pit lane to use if there's a late caution. You don't have to use all the sets of tyres, of course, so keep one back just in case. And I think not changing any tyres up until lap 70 is probably a good idea. This is what happened to Lars Bohlin. Seemed from that angle like he was turning down there on, I think, Dante Forsberg, who was the orange car involved there.
Yeah, Forsberg had a big wiggle, slow, and then as I was mentioning, because you're turning hard left, he obviously just completely misjudged that, thought he was going to be getting past the driver, but unfortunately was not passed, and therefore got tagged and has gone around. So he is there towards the back. We have had a couple of pitters, Skoglund and Marcus Hagman. They've gone down pit road. They've just had a couple of seconds there to top up and then continue on. And where are we seeing? Bulka's down in P32, Forsberg down in P19 as it stands. So that's a big loss from these drivers. But it looks like we're going to get about 5-lap cautions as well, Ewan. So that's an interesting note later on if it comes to roughly around the stage time or even towards the end of the race, if it's going to be the 5-lap cautions.
We were told that if a caution happens on lap 66 or later, then it's the end of the stage. But should that have been adjusted to 65 in that case, if it's going to be 5-lap cautions? Because otherwise they're going to be going green on lap 70, which just doesn't make a lot of sense. But anyway, hopefully we don't have to figure that out, and we're going to get a nice green flag run to the end of the first stage, where, of course, this season there are cautions thrown immediately afterwards. So we will hope not to find that out. But if it's 5-lap cautions, then that sort of window where there's no return, if you like, is surely wider.
Absolutely. I guess we'll have to see. As the pace truck is going to be coming in, it is going to be side-by-side action up towards the line once more. And it's the 24 of Eracingligan on the front row alongside Marcus Byfeld, as we had at the beginning of the race. But this time it's Jesper Eriksson who's pushed himself up into third place. He already jumped a row last time. Can he jump another and take the lead? The green flag comes out for the second time RaceSpotTV here at Richmond Raceway for the Additon 250. And let's see, with 3 wide in towards turn 1, Broström looks up the inside. Is the high line going to work well, though, for Byfeld to hold on? Yes, it is. Broström does not compete on the exit of the corner and is going to have to sit in there. But actually, Jesper Eriksson is going to be battling for second place. We work our way towards 3 and 4 for the first time of asking on this restart, and it looks like he's really going to be hugging up the inside.
Yeah, it's a good lead and a good restart again from Additon, but here down the inside comes Jesper Eriksson, by far the most aggressive of the drivers so far in terms of making up places. He was on the initial start and he's now been so again. He's through on Byfeld into second.
Certainly is. This is a strong start to the race from Eriksson. There's 4 positions gained already and needs to try and find another one to get to the lead of the race. I wonder how much of a rush he is in, to be honest. We'll have to see as the race continues on. Is it better to lead out the front there, or are you sort of happy to sit there in second place? We'll certainly find out. Joel Wallen's looking spicy in the background, trying to get on the Simrace Sweden car, the 79. That's Dan Holmer as they're side-by-side through 3 and 4. They've been side-by-side for about a lap now. The 43 trying to find his way through.
Yeah, and again, it could be difficult because that outside line does generally come in. He's missed the low line a little bit there, Wallen, and he's forced effectively himself to slow down, and that will allow Holmer to get through. But the more this happens early, the more that the outside line is going to come in a little bit later. I'd be very surprised if we see anybody running anywhere near the wall around here at Richmond. It doesn't really work like that here, but you can certainly run in that middle line if you like. This circuit is very much separated into lanes like a highway is, and you can use that middle lane if you like. So the more that this happens early on, the better it is for outside line overtaking later on in the race.
That is very true. After we've had a couple laps of green flag running now, it does look like we've separated into a single file formation, so maybe the low line is the better choice for now, and the driver's just deciding that's the good point. We are going to be seeing what we're being told is a drop-off of maybe even up to 2 seconds a lap over the whole course of the 100 laps, so that could be quite significant a little bit later on when it comes to things like keeping the rear tyres in check out of the corners and getting the power onto the front and the back straight away. Side by side we go. This is Johannes Leppit in the 40 machine making the move on Lundberg. Lundberg trying to keep it on the outside line, but the 40's looking good. This is behind the car of Joel Bohlin that we were looking at a little bit early on. Joel's actually lost quite a bit of time to Dan Holmer. So space up ahead if these guys can find it.
Yeah, there is. Side by side, pretty dead even off the corner for Leppit and Lundberg. Leppit will just beat him to the line. Oh, and Ericsson in the fence there in the background, as he's going to be attacked for his 10th position. Leppit dives it in now, and he does get through. So just takes that little bit of diving in there on the inside line, going a little bit harder. And Lundberg very shortly will run out of options on the outside line. So Leppit does move through into 8th position with a nice overtake. But again, this front 5 getting away. This is going to be such a race between these front 5. If we allow a long run to develop, they look so evenly matched.
Oh, they certainly do. And one thing that we've seen the last couple of rounds is with the slightly longer tracks, the gaps in qualifying is so small that sometimes the faster drivers actually end up a little bit further out than you would expect in qualifying, because there's such a small difference. But here, where it's not quite a road course, but you have some proper corners, and we saw tenths of a second between drivers, the cream rises to the top, and the top 5, top 6 in qualifying were really the top 5, top 6 drivers that we have in the grid, and that is what you're seeing once again today. And I can't wait to see how this works out. Jonas Gunnarsson here, sitting on the back of that top 5. They dropped his teammate Holmer by a whole second. As you're saying, Jan, a little bit of a breakaway. Yeah.
And they're just showing themselves to be the fastest 5 drivers in this field at the moment. But as we saw last week, especially, or last round, a mistake I'm going to keep making, the long run versus short run speed of these cars was just very, very different time and again. As Jonas Gunnarsson's having trouble here, or they're all having trouble, we'll just get back in a moment. But yeah, it's very different having a short run compared to a long run, as we saw at Auto Club Speedway 2 weeks ago. This so far has only really been a very short run, 20 laps complete in the race, and obviously less than that with this latest run.
Absolutely, and sorry for the brief pause in the pictures there. Should be all sorted now as the top 5 continue on. They've dropped Holmer by another half a second in the last couple of laps as well. Is this a drop-off already? Just 1/10 of the way into the race, not even a third of the way into the stage. So it's already a drop-off in performance where the top drivers are keeping their tyres a little bit better.
Yeah, we did hear before the race from Linus that tyre drop-off, and it always is at Richmond, tyre drop-off is 1.5 to 2 seconds over the course of a fuel run, which can be as much as 100 laps, and they're not going to go 100 laps on fuel, but you can if you wanted to. The drop-off, though, does happen rather quickly here, and it's constantly a thing in longer green flag races here at Richmond. Even though you do lose a lap or so, maybe even 2 sometimes, around here making a pit stop, there's a constant battle, and there might be, between a 1-stop and a 2-stop race in the final 140 laps, or 130 laps rather, which is what we're going to have after we've seen the caution for the stage.
Yeah, that is very true. The stage being so early, there's going to be a long run to the end. And I guess that also depends on the timing of the cautions, because if there's no cautions, you're going to stay out and do the 1-stop. But if they have that extra set of tyres, so if there's a fairly early caution in the second stage, let's call it, then there is going to be some opportunity for drivers to pit, use that set of tyres, and then assume that maybe even with 20, 30 laps to the end, they can bolt on another set and then go ham and try and make some positions. But it's always one of those things where we're looking at Marcus Bifer here sitting in 3rd place. This is exactly what he did in the first stint at Auto Club. He sat behind, never really looked like he was going to be challenging for the win at that point, but he was saving and having the strategy for later on in the race, and that really made him work, and he came through the field on fresher tyres.
Yeah, indeed. Could be a scenario we see a little bit later on. But of course, the 2-stop strategy for that final 130 laps would mean using all of your sets of tyres before there even is a late caution, if there is one. And that might put people off going for that undercutting strategy. But we'll see. Not expecting to see any green flag pit stops before we get to the stage, though. We might see some stops from some guys under the cautions, if there are some, before the stage. But they're not going to pit under green. I would be very surprised if they do in these first 70 laps. Nearly 30 complete now, and Jonas Leppert has got rid of Erik Lundberg. He's now attacking Joe Bohlin here for 7th place, picking them off one by one.
We settled into a little bit of a stint here, which is nice. So the drivers, as you can say, can now focus on the moves that they've got around them. And this is the one for Jonas Leppert, who's been very strong since about a year or so ago, joining into this division. And as he works his way towards turn 1 and 2, he's putting a lot of pressure on the 43 of Jo Bohlin, who has been making inroads himself in the last year or so. Two drivers improving their results as the week goes on. And let's see, Leppert, I mean, he's quite often actually challenging up towards the top 5. Sometimes hasn't had the finishing results that he would have wanted, but the running result during the race is often fairly good for the number 40 machine. As it stands, can't quite do so much. We are looking to be about a second, maybe just over a second off the pace. 1.2 seconds already for some of these drivers. And we're still expected to go potentially another 70 laps on these tyres.
Yeah. That would be the point at which they run out of fuel. I don't think they're going to be forced to go quite that far on a set of tyres at some point in this race this evening, but you never know. Considering the drop-off, it is quite major. And Additon seems to have a good car right now as well for a long run. That's what you want if you're a pole sitter. Obviously, you've got a good run short run car if you can take pole. But the problem then comes later as you do about 30 laps. What does your car look like after that? And it looks like Additon's looking pretty good. Ericsson was very punchy on the restart and the initial start as well, but question mark starting to hang over him now after 30 laps of this sort of medium stage of the run, quite what state his tyres are in and how his car's running.
And interestingly, last time we came to this race, which was on the 10th of April in 25. It was 184 laps that day. We had 4 cautions. Ericsson won with Gunnarsson and Additon all in the top 5 and 4 seconds apart at the end of the race. And they are all inside the top 5 this time as well. So they definitely know what they're doing around this track. As we've seen, Leppert has got the 43 of Jo Bohlin, and that is a nice position because there's a bit over a second that he can now push into and get onto the back of Dan Holmer. Holmer, he's still less than 2 seconds off Gunnarsson, so he's dropped behind and he's continued to drop just a 10th here, 10th there, but he's not falling off completely, so there are still opportunities for these guys.
Yeah, there is. And Leppert is showing himself to be one of those who's taking chances when they're coming in front of him at the moment. 7th place now, and getting rid of Jo Bohlin pretty comfortably, pretty quickly. For the leaders, traffic is about to be their biggest obstacle. There's a massive group from Dante Forsberg and backwards for 20th place. There's 6 of them in a line. And Alexander Additon is just coming up to the back of them now. You can see it from this onboard. 6 of them in shot on the front stretch here as it curves round towards turn 1. And Additon, yeah, is going to have to pick these off one by one. Always a problem in short track racing. And this could be one of the only chances. Perhaps Bristol will be the only circuit where traffic is any worse than it is here.
Yeah, so the lapping is already coming into it, as you're saying, Ewan, and this could be a big turning point in the race. There's a whole... someone getting loose already off T4, and that is the exact example where something can happen and then you start to lose time because these guys are battling themselves. They're not going to just let you through nice and easy. You're going to have to work for this. And is that a lap driver actually going backwards? There's I see Frederick Eck on the back is losing some positions. So it might be him who's gone backwards and just struggling a bit. Fortunately for Additon, he does have some time. It's not like Ericsson is pushing around the backside of his car, but still, this is not a fun position to be in. He goes round the outside of the first back marker.
Yeah, X had 2 loose moments off of 4 in a row here, and he saved them both times using the apron, but nevertheless, he has had moments, and Additon now puts him a lap down, so the first driver now 1 lap down. That all of a sudden does increase the importance of fighting in this 6-car group as well, by the way, because the free pass will be open to the first driver 1 lap down, and since they know when their caution's going to be, lap 70 or earlier, you've got to fight to be first driver lap down, constantly hit. And so the importance again of the group is just increased a bit.
And this could become a little bit sketchy then for these drivers. We're looking at Skoglund trying to make a move on Forsberg, who was involved, of course, in the caution previously after having a bit of a mistake, making some contact with Lars Bulker down in towards the first corner. There's now a 4-car train here just in front of the race leader, and this is not ideal at all. The 24 sending it in there. The first driver that he's going to have to come up against, Robert Erling, is going to be in that blue and white machine as he works his way towards the first corner. Left, right, is he going to go? The 24 is going to dive it to the inside. Looks like a good opportunity for now, but he might get blocked with a side-by-side ahead of him.
Yeah, exactly. And this could be a chance for Ericsson and Byfeldt to close in. They have just done so in the last couple of moments. As Ericsson picks his way through the traffic, has Forsberg seen him diving from that far back? That was quite a long way back for Ericsson coming into turn 3. Now Forsberg definitely knows he's there, and he just made an obvious turn to the left right there, just a little bit towards turn 1 to allow Ericsson down the inside. But there's not been any pattern to this so far. Ericsson's had to dive inside and outside, and he's had to react to what's going on in front of him. Lap traffic not particularly pleased to see him passing them for the first time here. They've got to let him go though, and they've got to then focus on getting into that free pass position.
And the difficult point of this section of the race is that everyone's on the same age tyres as well. Later on, we're going to have new tyres, old tyres are going to be all over the place potentially, but right now, as much as they are lapping, that's just natural field spread. There isn't a huge difference in the lap times, maybe a couple of tenths. I mean, if you look on the last lap, the guys at the back are literally a couple of tenths slower at best than the leaders. It's not like there's half a second a lap between these drivers like we will see later on. So that's why this situation is even more difficult now, as the 37 of Ericsson still holding behind Byfeldt, but they hit this same traffic as the 24 is able to slide past Broström as well. That opens up the door to Forsberg to dive down the inside. This is right ahead of the 37, who's got Byfeldt, your championship leader, pushing up the back of him.
Yeah, and so just as quickly as Ericsson had caught here, he's going to see that gap reinstated now because of the side-by-side, although they have sorted it out. And so Ericsson dives to the inside now. Byfeldt effectively not having to do any overtaking here, just having to follow Ericsson, really. And there he goes as well. So this gap has closed for the lead now. And I think it is down to the traffic, but now it comes to Ericsson and his ability to respond here. Has he got a car underneath him that still has the pace here to push on again, as these front 3 have over the rest of the field? Even Broström and Gunnarsson now can't stay with the 3 of them. No longer a front 5, but can Ericsson reinstate a margin? Because that's a lot smaller than what it was earlier. He is going to get a bit of assistance again from Bjorn Broström there, who goes deep actually into 3 and 4, and so Ericsson maybe will slip through a little bit easier. It's Byfeldt looking to the inside of Ericsson as well, and it is side by side for second.
Oh, this is so difficult. And so, Byfeldt, is he going to complete that up the inside? It's going to be a T3. Big slide from Ericsson as well, as they're all wiggling around. But look at that big send on the brakes to the inside, makes the apex and holds on to that P2. Broström, I think he's trying to be nice here and give him space, but look at the sliding on the exit. They just don't have the grip to drive past him. They're going to have to really work for this. And once again, looking at the lap times, I said it's literally a 10th here, 10th there. It's not like they can just push past. Additon has not pulled away from the 41 car as it stands, and that is why this has become a little bit awkward. Although it's really separated that big battle pack that we were talking about, and it's really separated them, because I mean Forsberg is miles off the back of Broström now.
Yeah, and that I think some credit can go to Broström for that, because I think he has increased his speed a little bit. To Skoglund rather, just up in front here. I think he's increased speed a little bit, but yeah, the gap has certainly increased here, and it's an awkward line at the moment that's being undertaken, making Ericsson really sort of think about how he's going to go through. And by the way, you mentioned the sliding Ericsson's having off the corner. Whenever you lose off of a turn, you know that it's the driver's right foot at fault rather than the car itself. Ericsson, lap after lap, just seems to be sliding that rear out of the turns, and it may be faster, but it won't be doing his tyres any favours, and he's still got 20 laps to use them.
Yeah, I guess right now he's just decided that I care about this position more than my tyres, because sometimes you might see more sacrificing a position, but Byfeldt sent it down the inside there. He was sideways on the brakes trying to make it work, and he's going to use the 41 to good effect. The 37 is going to get blocked on that outside line. This is perfect opportunity for the 105 machine, and Broström does not get out of the way, so the 37 have to dive it 3 wide in towards T3. Contact is going to be made on the exit. Ericsson's trying everything to not lose this position, but it's so difficult to complete the move around here that the 105 is still not ahead even after a lap.
Yeah, they're not losing time to Additon, interestingly, but Byfeld now does get through. So is that now a charge that Marcus Byfeld can take forward to this race lead? Because even while they were stuck behind Broström, and even while they were side by side, they weren't losing time to Alexander Additon, who might have gone out a bit too hard initially on those tyres. In the medium term, his car was looking good, and it was getting out to more than a second's worth of a lead. But past 50 laps, Additon can't extend his lead any further, and Byfeld's the one who looks strongest now.
Exactly. Byfeld sits there for the first 2/3, 3/4 of the stage, sits in third position. It's exactly what he did at Auto Club. And now he's going to be starting to push forward, try and get a stage win and an extra 10 points to his name. As ever, that could be crucial later on in the standings, especially as second place in the championship. Marcus Hagman, he's down in 15th place. Linus Broström, third place in the championship, is in 4th. So this is looking rather good. And then next in the championship is Johannes Leppert down in 7th place. So he's beating by a good margin all of those drivers next to him in the championship, as unfortunately Additon and Ericsson, as much as they are top drivers, they are not having the start to the season that they would have wanted. Ericsson missing a race already as well. So let's see how this one continues on. Lap 54, Ericsson is being dropped. Broström's no way near close. It's all about Byfeld versus Ericsson.
Yeah, indeed. And Marcus Byfeld at the moment looks like he's the one with the speed. And maybe with the 10 points in 15 laps time as well. We're not too far away from stage points being gained here again as well. These two, along with Johannes Leppert, interestingly, have gained the most stage points so far of any, all with 13 to their name. You'd imagine whoever gets the win here will have... Sorry, it's Hagman and Byfeld leading the way with Leppert. You'd imagine that Byfeld will have the most by the end of this, though, and he might even have all 10. He's just looking so threatening, and it does feel very similar, I must say, to 2 weeks ago, where at Auto Club, the longer the race seemed to go on, the better Marcus Byfeld seemed to get, and might be happening again for the third round in a row.
I wonder why Marcus hasn't really challenged in the Oval Series before this season, hasn't really attended even, I should say, because he's obviously so good. As much as we see him on the Road Course Series, winning 3 of the last 4 championships over there, the only driver to beat him in that time was the almighty Jesper Eriksson, who's currently sitting behind him. But, you know, and he's looking good for another championship this season if he can sort it out in the GT3s. But for some reason, the Oval Series hasn't got so involved. Now he finally does, and his Street Trends car is looking super fast.
It is. He's got just over 10 laps to figure this out. It's not easy to pass around here. And that was almost road course style, the way that he went for a late apex there. Additon defending almost road course style on the inside at turn 3. But Byfeld now is into the position of not particularly caring about his tyre life any further, but indeed that race lead. Look at the exit he gets off of 4. He gets to the inside of turn 1. There's just no chance Additon's going to be able to keep him back for another 12 laps here.
Certainly not, but the 105 needs to complete the move. They're both wiggling on the exit. And even with the huge wiggle a lap ago that the 105 got, he managed to carry the momentum through and is able to take the lead. So the 105 hits the front with just over 10 laps to go before the stage. He sat in third place for a while, and now his pace and his consistency is coming strong. In the Additon 250 stage win, maybe going to the 105, but he's got 10 laps to hold on. Can anyone challenge, or is there going to be a silly little caution before the stage?
Well, absolutely. It would make it into a real dash at the end. And by the way, the amount of laps under caution has indeed been changed for the 5 laps. I just can't do maths very well. 66 laps, of course, to 70 is indeed 5 laps. So there you go. But yes, that point now of no return is getting a lot closer. So any chances for Byfeld to lose this through a late caution, I think, are diminishing quite quickly now as well.
This is Gerson Håkenschott in his 100th appearance, and it is a silly caution. Just what I called a lap ago comes out, which means we are going to be seeing a restart before the stage caution. The number 40, big damage on the rear right side. That is an interesting one, and also the front right as well. So big contact to the right-hand side of the vehicle in general. Is that because he's gone up high into the wall, or is there some contact with a driver? We'll have to find out. And this is interesting. Is someone going to sacrifice their stage points now and take the fresher tyres. The 24 is doing that. That is very interesting that the 24 is doing that. So he's sacrificing those 9 points because he may not be able to get higher, but they're seeing the long game here.
Well, yeah. I mean, a puzzler for Additon, I think. I think he should have stayed out, but it's clearly something that the team have agreed on, because Linus Broström has also decided to come in here. They won't drop too far outside the top 10, and you wonder how far they'll be able to get up the field, because they'll be, 2 seconds a lap or so quicker. It's just a case of how far can they get through the field here. Anyone a lap down, by the way, who doesn't come in, I think is a bit mad. And Dante Forsberg has stayed out. Ideally for them, you want to be putting the new tyres on. Try and get past as many guys on the lead lap as possible on the restart, and then hope that everybody in front of you comes in so you can get the wave around, or indeed fight for the free pass before we get the next caution. That's the advantage for them of knowing when the next caution is going to be. You know exactly what you're targeting, and as far as a free pass or a wave around is concerned.
So there's going to be a lot of drivers for these guys to overtake. It's P12 for Additon. So 11 drivers. He was in second place, so I guess 10 positions he needs to make in a 5-lap restart, or even less. It's probably going to be 4-lap restart before the stage. He is going to be over a second, maybe a second and a half a lap faster than these guys. So this will be an interesting one. Let's see, though. Lepit on the outside, the 43 of Yo Bohlin on the inside. These guys have been battling for quite a while now, a good 20-odd laps. We thought Lepit had that position stuck. Oh, he went loose, and he got caught, and then he got tagged by Yo Bohlin, but that was all because of the 40 getting loose up high off 2, came down across the 43, then they couldn't unstick themselves. He spun to the front, and in the end, it wasn't actually that bad, but of course, spinning around, hitting the wall, of course, is going to bring out a caution.
And what about the damage repair for Lepit? Well, only 30 seconds spent down on pit lane that time round, so understandable that he would come into pit lane. But the damage really wasn't that bad. It looked mostly cosmetic, actually, the damage that we saw there. And indeed, the contact maybe would suggest that as well. As you mentioned, 5 laps to go until the caution, sorry. So that's what we've got left, and as far as this stage is concerned. So any caution would bring an end to this stage now. And I'd imagine it's just a restart for Byfeld to execute. Can Ericsson replicate some of the restarts he was having earlier, even while he's got old tyres on here?
And one thing to note, just before the restart, is that Holmer caught and overtook Gunnarsson. So Gunnarsson might be struggling on those tyres from the second row. Let's see Holmer, but it's Byfeld and Ericsson on the front row. The green comes out. And we're having the Additon 250 have a little bit of a race to the stage caution on lap number 70. We've got Additon, we've got Broström, and a few other drivers on new tyres in that midfield trying to work their way through, but don't get caught up in something else. They're trying to recover these stage points that they potentially would lose unless they stayed out. But look at Byfeld, the absolute whole shot at the front.
Broström's already getting so many of these points back. He's up to 6 for... Oh, and it's the spin! And that might be Additon. That is going to end the stage, if indeed it will. It's Additon involved, is it? Or is it one of his... It is Additon involved. Now, that is a disaster. That's an absolute disaster, because he had to move forward for, first of all, the points, also for that tyre call to work out. Now he's behind a lot of guys who also took that tyre call. It's a disaster. Broström is the only one on those new tyres to actually get into the top 10 again. He's going to get 5 stage points and indeed the race lead when everybody pits here under the caution. But Marcus Byfeld is a stage winner, and he's now gained 23 out of a maximum 30 stage points so far this season.
What a start to the season it's going to be for Marcus Byfeld. But the stage caution comes out, and with that, we'll take a little break, and we'll be back in a few moments after some messages from our partners. Welcome back to the Additon 250 here from Richmond Raceway. We just had the stage caution and things have been blown wide open. So Marcus Byfeld came across as the stage winner, but because we had a caution just a few laps before that, a few drivers obviously chose to pit in the first one, and therefore they've rotated to the front. So Byfeld's actually down in 9th place, and he's just ahead of Alex Aronson. So I guess in some ways, it's not the worst thing in the world, but they are on a couple of laps older tyres, if that is going to mean anything a bit later on. So technically, Aronson has kept the lead with that, but look at all these drivers that have got up ahead. It's going to be a tough one to work out how this is going to work its way to the end, because it depends when the next potential caution could be. But in theory, we're going green to the end. Brostrom's at the front. He's already got his fresher tyres on. So if we have a long section here, this might work out for the 71, who took the gamble. He had the fresher tyres, got some positions back, but unfortunately Additon got caught up in things. We're going back to green flag racing, and we are green to the end of this race. Let's see how it's going to come out on top this time around. Peter Helmbro's jumped up massively, already 20 positions in this race. He's dived up the inside to try and get second place away from Marcus Hagman.
Yeah, this is what Hagman and Helmbro have done so far this season, really getting towards the front when it matters. Now, neither of them got any stage points that time round, which is the negative this time round. That's the first time this season that Marcus Hagman has not been in the stage points, but it's been more common for Peter Helmbro to get very few at the point at which points are taken. So not undiscovered territory for him, but 3 wide in the background. There's a big rush right now for those who pitted more recently to get through the field. Daniel Holmer's leading the charge at the moment, but there's trouble. Marcus Stiller there slows down effectively to avoid trouble, and eventually gets hit, but into Forsberg he goes, into the wall through turn 1, and caught. Oh no, another hit. Caution's surely going to come out.
Yeah, loads of drivers involved. Stiller, Eck involved, Robert Eriksson, Dante Forsberg, is that Uvanen as well. And I think that's not the end of the list there. The 41, that's Bjorn Brostrom, also involved. So many drivers, and that was all because of a little wiggle there off the 013 and Marcus Stiller, setting a bit of a chain reaction. And as he went slower, getting a few more drivers involved. So Ewan, in the last 10 laps, this is the 3rd caution.
Yeah. And, you know, we were speaking before the broadcast about cautions, breeding cautions around here. Maybe that is beginning to happen here as well. Although, having said that, we had a start of the race and then a very early caution and then a very long green flag run, so who knows. But as you say, that has really been contrasted with these last 3 cautions, all brought out for incident. The stage caution this time round not brought out just because they'd crossed lap 70, but indeed just before it on a restart. This is still a view of first of all, the sideways moment out of turn 4. Seems he got there on his own as Byfeldt was slipping underneath him. Byfeldt lucky there to avoid getting hit, but Stiller himself was then hit. Into Forsberg he went, and then they just come to a stop effectively here because Forsberg's sitting the wrong way. And look at this, they just pile in. And yeah, in the end, a lot of guys getting damaged. Tony Uvanen spinning around, and yeah, a lot of damage back there now. And I saw actually that Dante Forsberg actually has a meatball, so he could be in the pit lane for quite some time.
Yeah, so the initial orange car was actually Robert Eriksson, and then Forsberg was a second orange car getting in there on the outside. So that is really not the ideal situation for those guys and the teammates there at Hexagon Nation. They, you know, they don't want to get involved in crashes on their own, but let's actually see this from Forsberg's point of view. So the crash has already happened ahead. Car's going up in the air, tries to get left, and then unfortunately hit from behind, hit on the front on the barrier as well. And if that's enough to bring out a meatball, then yeah, that really shows you how flimsy these cars are and how careful you have to be to not go down pit road too many times of asking. And looking back to what we're seeing, Ewan, actually Marcus Hagman, he's actually stopped twice in this race, so he must have stopped to the very first caution as well, I think, after the start.
Yes. No, that would be an error in timing because I saw that initially he didn't actually get onto the grid. There was a gap in the grid when they pulled away, and for some reason Hagman was in it. I don't know why. He might have started therefore a lap down, or indeed from the pit lane, but that early caution meant it was effectively no difference. But when somebody starts from pit lane like that, it counts as a pit stop. So I suspect that's what's gone on there. But I can't be 100% sure. Scotland has also got 2 pit stops to his name. I didn't see him in the pit lane first time around, so maybe came in under the first caution, because there were a few at the back, especially, who decided to come in and just top off on fuel. Linus Prostrom and Marcus Hagman and the rest of them are really the losers from that early caution, because that brings the guys who were running up front earlier, like Byfeld and Ericsson, a bit closer to them as they're restacked again. So it hasn't worked out for those leaders, that early caution.
Yes, we'll see how it plays in the long game. Of course, still plenty of laps to go. 120 odd laps here at the Additon 250. Brostrom's going to get us underway once again after stopping just before the stage caution has rotated to the front of the queue. Additon, his teammate, is in 4th position, and then we're looking back to Ericsson and Byfeld, P7, P8. They're the ones who stopped at the actual caution, technically on slightly newer tyres, but close enough that it shouldn't make too much of a difference just yet. Let's see. Oh, is that Ericsson? Was there contact? He must have been pushed up wide already.
He might have had contact. He was certainly loose. And then there was a bit of secondary contact, if indeed there was some initially, but that drops him all the way down to 10th place now, which is a long way behind Marcus Byfeld, who's now into the top 5. He gets past Daniel Holmer, who surely could have put up a bigger fight there to keep Byfeld behind. He's got to try and help his teammates out somehow, but Byfeld has just steamed on through. Now he's on the back of Alexander Ericsson already. So the difference between the two in terms of traffic absolutely wiped away in a matter of moments.
And Dan Holmer, yes, as you say, could be helping there, but he's been running up good pace in this race anyway. As Ericsson's ended down the inside, that's going to be 3 wide. That surely cannot end well. I would be surprised if they all made it through. Somehow Lundberg saw that one coming well up high enough. We're still 3 wide down the front straightaway, in towards turn 1. Ericsson's going to be braking late. Lundberg's out of the picture. It's just one battle apiece, but no, the 37 is going to have to struggle down the back straight too to complete this move.
Yeah, that was quite brave from Ericsson, diving down the inside like that. Could have very easily caused a caution. Bohlin there, and Lundberg, though, good presence of mind to make sure that they understood they were 3 wide and indeed didn't turn in accordingly on the way towards turn 3. Battle for the lead, by the way, as Helmbro just looked to the inside of Linus Prostrom. It's all one long line because the leaders are not the fastest guys in the race like they were on the initial start, which stretched the field out early. It's not happened anymore. That is very, very slow on the outside line from Dante Forsberg, who's made 2 minutes 45 of repairs, and he's back out again after serving that meatball.
That's amazing team coming back out. But I guess you never know what's going to happen later on in the race. We're seeing some fast drivers come through now. So on that inside line, we've got Ericsson, Byfeld, Gunnarsson, all trying to push their way up to the front. Jesper Ericsson's not too far behind from joining this battle either, as Marcus Hagman is the car that's being hung out to dry a little bit on that outside line. The inside line's definitely better overall so far in this race. You have to really be faster in general to try and go around the outside. Everyone's gotten single file now as you all hold the inside line for this moment in time. That allows Brostrom actually to get a bit of a run out ahead. His big send down the inside from Ericsson with almost 3 wide up ahead as the 33. Byfeld's already got past Ericsson, but now the 33 of Gunnarsson's looking to go through well as well.
Yeah, he just needs to try and follow through. He wasn't so strong with the long run speed, but short term he was able to stay with Marcus Byfeld before, side by side between Ericsson and Hagman here as well. As Jesper Ericsson tries to get past the second place driver in the point standings at the moment. He will now be tied though with Linus Prostrom after the stage points that were dished out at 70 laps, or when the caution came out just before those 70 laps were complete. Ericsson up to 6th. This is Wallin's view in towards turn number 1 of that incident. It's quite a view, isn't it? He would have had in his rearview mirror of that most recent caution about 15 laps ago.
Yeah, fortunately, it all happened about a car length or so behind, so he wasn't involved in that one. But great shots there by Dane Baird doing the production of this broadcast. I'm sure we'll give him a round of applause later on for that one. The 33 guy diving into the inside a little bit, opening up door, thinking about it on the 24, as Helmbro is actually doing a good job holding on to these guys. What is allowing is Byfeld to get through, and that is, you know, something that these guys do not want to see. The 33 of Gunnarsson looking strong down this line. He's going a bit wide though, pushes 24 up high. That's going to open up the door to Ericsson potentially, but actually Ericsson's held on to that nicely and manages to defend and hold on. But the 33, strong, aggressive move, gets himself up into 4th place.
Yeah, indeed. And it's very close to, well, not being over just yet here, as Ericsson just sits in behind, and there goes Ericsson meantime. Ericsson for 5th place, dives down the inside. Gunnarsson goes up a little bit high, couldn't quite keep the low line there. Yes, but Ericsson now slips through on the inside, though, on Additon, despite his teammate, I think, rather than because of him. And so moves up into the top 5. Yeah, they're all scrapping for places, but I'm afraid it's all behind Marcus Beifeld, who is the overwhelming favourite at this stage, getting clear of the traffic quicker than anybody else. And now it's Linus Broström, the last line of defence.
Yes, it certainly is, but I wonder, is this just the couple of laps older tyres from Broström not helping, or is this just the speed of Beifeld and co pushing forward? Helmbrough's doing such a good job to hold on, actually, in the scenario, considering he was not where he would have wanted to be in the qualifying, showing that he obviously doesn't quite have the pace today. We have seen him up towards the front. He has got podiums before in this series. We talk about him quite a lot. He's got pole positions, in fact. It definitely has the speed, but sometimes in a longer run pace, doesn't always hold on. The 33 goes really high there, trying to make something work. Is that just because he's getting awkward up close and behind the 77? Thinks about it to the inside, but Peter does a big defensive move.
Indeed. He's holding that nicely on the outside line. Just, just off the line there, and means that if you do want to dive down there's a very narrow window of opportunity on the inside, and if you want to go around the outside, then it's a very long way round. Oh, he's hit him there. Ericsson gets into the back there of Helmbrough, or rather Gunnarsson gets into the back of Helmbrough, I should say, into turn 3, and it causes another caution.
And that was getting aggressive for a few laps. Is anyone going to hit him? In some ways, he's doing the right thing to stay still and be predictable, but he also could get out of the way. Has he completely stalled the vehicle, or is he just waiting? I just want to see if the 77 is going to be able to get back in the race. He does get going finally as the caution comes out, but that is going to be potentially a game changer for some of these drivers who might take this opportunity to pit already. The problem is, technically, we can't get to the end on fuel. I guess with cautions we save some, but it's just a little bit over 100 laps, and that might be too much for some. However, you never know if someone's going to at least take that opportunity. We'll have to see when we get back to the to pit entry, Ewan.
I think it might be worth coming in if you're further down towards the back at the tail end, just to sort of top off on fuel. But I think other than that, I'm not sure any of the leaders will be coming in. And yeah, the top 11 stay out. It seems that's only further back where they've been coming in. Jonas Gunnarsson comes in after that contact. This contact in towards turn 3. He was trying to dive down the inside, and Helmbrough was moving, but I'm not sure you can place the blame anywhere other than for Gunnarsson there, to be honest. He seemed to be going in and sort of with the mindset, I'm going down the inside here no matter what. And in the end, there was contact as Helmbrough tried to block him.
That's actually a move in that we don't really see too much in this championship. I mean, we do see incidents here and there, but not a dive like that and cars spinning out. Normally it's like a side-by-side, and it's a little bit of awkward contact, always like what we saw earlier, Marcus Stiller having a bit of a wiggle on and then tagging a driver. We rarely see a driver punting another. I guess that's just testament to the racing in this series, but a very interesting one there from Gunnarsson.
Yeah, it was very interesting. Look at the way Ericsson's only just able to squeak on past. So close there as he slid up, as they both slid up high, rather. He had to use a bit of apron, but Ericsson up to 3rd as a result of that. And maybe that will give him a chance to get past Marcus Beifeld. Somebody needs to try and halt him, disrupt him in this race. At the moment, as I mentioned earlier, he seems to me to be the overwhelming favourite.
Yes, absolutely. And I just realised my bad maths is because it was 110 laps and not 100 laps. That's why no one's coming in. I thought there may be the odd person. Yeah, so ignore my commentator's maths on that one. Yet, absolutely not. Way too early to come in. We all knew that one. So Linus Broström is going to be getting back to the front row. And yes, I guess that means in another 10 laps or so, maybe they might think about it. But the problem is the tyres as well. They really, drop off. And if we see a bit of a caution later on, you want to have those sets of tyres as well. Pace truck comes in. Richmond Raceway is about to go green flag racing once again. So at about 5 cautions we've had in this race, more so than 1 year ago. Linus Broström takes us to the green at the Additon 250 for another time of asking, and he dives it deep to the inside line. He's got Byfeld, he's got Ericsson, Ricard's right behind him, and even Additon all challenging for the lead.
Yeah, can they get ahead of Byfeld? Who can get ahead of Byfeld, I think, is the real key here. And Byfeld knows it. He dives deep into turn 3, but I think he's going to lose second as a result. Ericsson turns underneath him, and it's a good exit, to be fair, from Byfeld, but he's going to be constantly boxed in here by Broström, who breaks a little bit early. Ericsson not only down the inside of Byfeld, but now also Linus Broström for the lead.
Ericsson's looked so aggressive this race, and here's another opportunity in T3. Broström leaves in the space, actually. Nice racing room between the two old rivals, and they go racing on the XL4, but Broström gets the run. He has the traction on the exit of 4, and he should be holding on to that when he dives earlier in towards turn 1 to try and hold on to that one. But the more they battle like this, the closer everyone is going to be getting in behind. In the background, we're seeing Marcus Harkman on the outside of your Bohlin as well for P6, P7. These guys have been fighting on track for a little while, but the 43 has the inside line, tries to make that one stick. The outside line seems to be fairly decent, actually, Ewan, but it's not an easy move around here.
No, it isn't. And the longer this race goes on, that because of the early side-by-side we were seeing, you see the dock line, the dock rubber getting rubbered in here, edging higher up the racetrack effectively, and it's just opening out some chances on the outside line to make moves. And actually, some people's line is moving up, as we saw with Helmbro earlier on. Just their actual line where they're running is moving a little bit higher up here. But Ericsson's looking for the move on the high side at the moment. He's trying to take this from Linus Broström, and I think wants to lead this race from the front and trying to defend from the front, because I think he'll realise that especially Marcus Byfeld has got better speed than him on a long run. Ericsson needs to be ahead of him by the time that equation flips to being in Byfeld's favour.
Gunnarsson's having a big battle at the back end of the top 10. Work his way forward, Torda working his way forward. Ericsson to the inside of T1, and that's a big move. I mean, that was coming from a mile away. Broström is holding it to the outside, though. The 37 gets a bit of a wiggle on. He loses the momentum. Small contact being made, but on the brakes, he makes a good half a car length or so. And this is such a tough track to get through. Lap after lap you go. On the outside line, you seem to be able to carry so much more speed into the corner that you're just close enough to hold on with that one. Look at this round the outside from the 71. He's not going to give up this one just yet, and he's making Ericsson work for it, but Ericsson technically has the lead as we're halfway into the race.
Yeah, and this might open the chance for Byfeld to get past Broström, and I'm not sure that's what Ericsson really wants at the moment. He's got to try and coordinate this pass somehow, but that's very, very difficult to do as they officially go over the half distance. 125 kilometres to go in the 250-kilometre race. That's why it's such an odd number of laps, 208. And Ericsson does take the lead without letting Byfeld get past Broström either. That's pretty much as good as it could have got.
Certainly, Gunnarsson's making his way forward, by the way. He's up into P5 now, resuming his... Well, I say that, he's actually not quite in P5, is he? He's having a big battle with Lundberg, I think that is, into T1. No, he's managed to do that on the brakes. So he's right behind these guys now, and he's caught up massively, just showing you the speed he has. He's even going to get Ericsson into P4. The 33 is coming so strong. He was trying to get past earlier, making some contact there, causing a caution. So he knew he had the speed, but this really has reinvigorated his race. Unfortunately, though, he probably will have a penalty coming. Round the outside he's going to go. What is going on with the 33? So much faster at this point.
Yeah, really, really eager to make up for the error made, bringing out the last caution. And already challenging Byfeld here, but you just wonder if he's going out too hard at the moment. Maybe because we know there's a green flag pit stop like to happen at some point in the next 30 laps if there's no caution. Maybe we're going to see Gunnarsson coming in a bit sooner than some of the others, and that's why he's going so hard. But this is remarkable from Gunnarsson at the moment. He did pit after that previous incident, by the way, under that caution, so I wonder whether he did put some new tyres on. But in that case, he can't have many sets left, maybe only just one, and that might bite him later, but at least he's leading for now.
Oh, that would make sense if he's on the fresher tyres, but his restart position was really good. So that's interesting, not losing too much time. And he's absolutely pulling away, but you're right, he must be on fresher tyres than others around him. There's no way that we've seen everyone doing about the same lap times and he is the only driver to be making those inroads. He's going to pull away massively as it stands, and that could be an interesting one. But as you say, if he then loses that fresh set of tyres, he's going to be massively behind and on the back foot if there's a late caution.
Yeah, indeed. If there's a late caution, see whether we do get that late run to the end. I'm absolutely hoping that there won't be, and you know, his chances are better here, I think, than some other places. Put it that way. Yes, we could see one caution that leads to another and another and another, but if it's a long green flag run, then likely that he's not going to come under fire. And of course, he will have to stop later than everybody else, who will be coming in, I'd say, in the next 30 laps, I would imagine, to make another pit stop. Gunnarsson will be able to run out a little bit further and almost trap the others a lap down. The others will be running the risk of being trapped a lap down. He won't have to do that at any stage.
That is very true, and he'll be getting the undercut, so he'll be a bit faster potentially with the lower fuel if the tyres keep on, but I don't think they will, so maybe he will lose some time with that. It's always about the maths and how it adds up, depending on when you're faster at certain points of the stint. We're seeing loads of big movers. So Lundberg got Byfeld, and now he's battling with Broström. So the 18 is looking strong. Did he do the same thing? Yeah, he is. He's on the same stint length as Gunnarsson. So he probably did the same thing, but at the same time. And he's working his way forward as well. So that just shows you, even Lundberg, who we don't always talk about in the top 5 or so in this championship, he's always battling for the top positions, but he's now overtaking your championship leaders.
Yeah, it's not a big difference in tyres, because as you can see, there are some still languishing at the back who pitted more recently, like Matthias Kjellberg, for example, who we're riding on board with here, letting past one of the lap cars there. That is either Ericsson or Forsberg. They look the same. It's one of them, though. They're laps down. But Lundberg on the same strategy gets up into second place. He had some damage to repair too, by the way, at the previous caution, because that was a 28 seconds drop from him. Next on the list, by the way, is Christopher Gerhardt, who's now at the back of that group. So this is all getting very interesting for those new tyre runners. How long do the other guys leave it here in terms of their next pit stop? Once one of them blinks, I think they'll all be in.
That is, yeah, that's very true. They won't want to stay out massively. As I said, with the pitting early undercut generally seems to work, but then you lose out later on. And they want to go as far as they can, so that the next in isn't long enough. But it's kind of a game of chicken of who wants to go first, because they definitely have plenty of fuel left in. Some of the drivers about 50 laps, so they could even have about another 50 laps of fuel in there. So they're pretty open on when they want to make this final pit stop. They're kind of just waiting for what they feel is the right time. Not always easy to make that decision. The 18 of Lundberg has got to the front, though, of this little battle pack, and is currently in second place in the race. Side by side we go between Ericsson and Broström. This is for third position on the road. Byfeld is sitting in behind. Your 3 championship protagonists up towards the front. I'll say that 37 has missed a race so far. Let's see when the drop scores get taken into play, if that is going to work out. But Ericsson is having a bit of a slower run. That slows down Broström in turn, and Byfeld gets the momentum, gets past 71, who's not able to hold on to that little slide. Aurus and Gyros Holmer go through.
That was a bad bit of oversteer for Linus Broström, who dropped to 8th. He just, I think, made contact with Ericsson there, and he nearly spun all the way around to the inside, but thankfully he gathered it up just in time. Let's see it again here. Was there contact before the slide, or a slide before the contact? No, there's contact there, and then the slide. So it's that's what induces it. And Ericsson already sliding their rears, by the way. I didn't mention earlier that these positions are more important than his tyres, but if he took better care of his tyres, he'd have better luck holding on to the places. But anyway, he's the driver, and at the moment he is hanging on to third place, but he's on borrowed time now with Marcus Byfeld right behind him.
So the 71 was actually quite tight off the exit of 4, and as soon as he sort of understeered a little bit into Ericsson of course was a bit slow because he had the wheel spin himself. Then that just pushed the weight, gave him a bit of a tank slapper, and he was able to hold on to it. But it just showed you how on edge these cars are. Just a tiny bit of pressure at a certain corner of the kart can really cause you into a spin. We're side by side with Byfeld now trying to complete the move on Jesper Eriksson down his back straight away. This is for third place as it stands, but potentially a leader of this strategy plan as we're on lap 121 of the Additon 250. Side by side we go just on the exit. The 105 has the momentum. They're both wiggling as they come through the start-finish line, but the 105 completes that move and Byfeld goes to third.
Now, is Ericsson going to be ultra aggressive and come in here straight away, or is he going to just carry on and lose time to Marcus Byfeld? Because that's what's going to happen here if he stays out. But if he comes in right now, he'd be splitting the final part of this race into thirds. So they've just done over 50 laps. There's just over 80 to go, so that'll be just over 40 laps twice. And there are 2 sets of tyres still on pit lane for these guys. So if he wants to be ultra aggressive, there are 2 sets of tyres down there for him to take. And if he thinks this, if he has confidence this race is going to go green all the way, then it might be worth doing. But if you've got any doubt about that, then it is probably better to stay out at least another 15 laps or so, because you will want those late set of tyres under a late caution if there is one. But he's carrying on for the moment, and Byfeld is now going to set his sights up in front. He's not going to catch Lundberg and Gunnarsson especially quickly, maybe not at all, but he is clear of those on his strategy, as you say.
Yeah, I think the smart decision is to stay out for now, but you know, everyone is going on fairly nicely. We've settled down into a bit of a green flag stint of about 30 laps now, so I think I would keep going and wait for the next caution to try and pit, or you just wait and then you'll pit anyway because you'll have to, but everyone will be doing it at roughly the same time in that situation. I don't think this is the day, and maybe with the shortness of the track as well and how far you go down, I don't know if this is the day for making an extra green flag stop, even with the speed that you gain back. As ever, it always depends on the cautions. You just never know if and when they're going to come. We're seeing Gyros here on 36 machine making some inroads. He's on the same strategy as Lundberg and Gunnarsson up ahead, so that is why he's pushing forward. He's up 10 places from his grid position and is looking to try and challenge up towards his teammate.
Yep, and it just seems to be stalling out in the next couple of moments. He was going at a similar speed to Gunnarsson and Lundberg earlier, but now that he's with the top guys, just looks like he's stalled now. It's going up very high there. It's one of the that's Lars Boket, who's a lap down now. So far, just 17 drivers still on the lead lap, and Matthias Kjellberg and Robert Erling are quite close to going a lap down as well. Only Marcus Stiller seems to be out of the race so far. The driver always starts at the back. Looks like he's going to end the race at the back as well this time.
Yeah, he's been in pit lane for 20 odd minutes. That's not going to be doing too good so far. 80 laps to go. I think 17 cars on the lead lap, considering the amount of cautions you've had, is probably not so bad. A lot of drivers able to continue on from those cautions in a pretty decent manner. We had a couple of silly spins, really, that caused cautions rather than some big wrecks. Which we got one of down in towards turn 1 when Rob Eriksson was spun around. Here's the 24 of Additon. He's got Leppit on his outside, the driver who's batting up inside the top 10 at one point, but is now battling with the guys up towards the front. Gyros chasing down the 24 and the 37. He's getting closer and closer with the red-wheeled Street Trends Toyota Supra, but he's not quite able to challenge just yet. Maybe just showing that the fall off of the tyres is making them quite even right now.
Yeah, maybe it is. I mean, even Gunnarsson at the front is a second and a half off of his best, and we've got a caution. So this provides a big problem now for Gunnarsson and Lundberg, as is that Forsberg or Eriksson's? But there we go. I knew I was going to get that wrong. Eriksson it is, who's spun. He's already 15 laps down, but he's caused a caution. It's a no-brainer for these guys who have been out there for more than 60 laps to come in. But the likes of Gunnarsson and Lundberg and Gyros only have one set of tyres remaining down on pit lane, and they surely can't use it with more than 70 to go.
I'm thinking. So if they pit with everyone else, then they're game to the end of the race. But if there's a late caution, they're pretty screwed. However, if they stay out, they're just going to get overtaken and bombarded. Oh, we've had another punt. It's that Kjellberg pushing the 35 of Robert Eriksson. Two cautions. We've seen a punt. Interesting one is we are seeing the leaders come down pit lane.
I thought you didn't realise that was on replay there for a second. I was
No,
fearing...
that was last week's fiasco.
Yeah, I know. I thought you were starting a streak of not realising replays. 2-week streak, anyway. Gunnarsson into pit lane, and Giros stays out. I think it probably is better to come in, as you said, and hope, for Gunnarsson and Lundberg's case, hope that there isn't another caution, basically, and there isn't a one late on, because if they don't pit now, they're going to drop to the back anyway, as you say, and also, then if there is a late caution, yes, they've got set tyres, but they're at the back, and everybody else will also have a set. So Gunnarsson comes in and makes the right call, I think. He'll be out in front of the others. Beifeld gets... Oh, Holmer's out pretty quickly as well there. Holmer takes just 2 tyres, and he's out in front of Marcus Beifeld. Lundberg gets jumped by both Holmer and Beifeld.
I was thinking on the situation, and also if they didn't pit now, they're going to get absolutely smoked on this restart. If it's a long green flag run, they may even go a lap down just on green flag, and then if it stays green flag, they've then got to make an extra green flag pit stop compared to everyone else. They might go another lap down. So I think that's the worst option than staying out and then maybe getting, they will lose a lot of positions at the end, but they won't be laps down. If it's a late caution. But it's an interesting one. They tried to use their tyres, but the caution has not helped them in that regard. Giros is just want to be sure on the facts. Yes, he's the only car to stay out. The only car. Sometimes, Ewan, if you're the only car to stay out in the strategy, is probably the wrong one.
Yep, sometimes there is only one person doing the right thing. I don't think this is that occasion. I think he probably should have come in. I mean, they're backed into a corner anyway. Be clear on this. He's not exactly like it's a glaringly obvious, wrong call to make. It's not like there is a good choice really for those on that strategy. I think unfortunately the mistake for them was made some laps ago, and that was taking their penultimate set of tyres with still more than half the race remaining, and now their hand has been forced with more than 70 laps to go. Hoping for a very long run to the end here, but I'm not sure we're going to get one based on the race we've had so far.
And in that case, for the likes of Gunnarsson with no tyres left, they might get away with it, depending on when everyone else decides to change their tyres. Lap 135 of 202. The pace truck comes in. We go back to green flag action, and Giros on the old tyres gets us underway for street trends at the front. But it's Gunnarsson with the fresh tyres to the outside is going to be forcing his way around. There's already a spin in the midfield. Loads of drivers going to be getting involved with this one. Holmer's involved. You're going to have to wait for the replay because half the back of the field gets caught up.
Wow. Linus Broström seems to be involved too, or was he just picking his way through it? Not sure. Yeah, I think he was involved.
He's there. He's at the back.
Yep. Lundberg's involved there as well. Trying to see some of the other top contenders. I think most of the top contenders, apart from Broström, got away with that. Joel Bohlin seemed to getting to contact as well in 43, but he's still in 5th place, unless that wasn't him, or indeed he made the contact and was able to carry on. But a chaotic restart, and it has, it's taken some unpicking. Gunnarsson, though, has taken the lead. Beifeld got through on Giros as well in that very brief restart.
Absolutely. That is, to be honest, Ewan, kind of what we were expecting. It's such a shame for Linus, though, getting dragged out of he's the reigning champion. He's already had one difficult race in the opener. Yeah, let's see how this one goes. But championship-wise, that's not helping him. Dan Holmer comes down pit road. Lars Bulka on pit road as well. Who else is coming in? Leppit, Hagman, quite a few drivers. Leppit's already been in 5 times, so I would be surprised if he has an extra set of tyres still in there. But yeah, really, and that's what we expected with caution and precautions. It takes them a little while to settle down, but when they do, we get a long green flag run.
Yes, let's hope that the next time round we are going to see that. I mean, if there are going to be cautions for the likes of Gunnarsson and Lundberg, then early ones would have been better. But unfortunately, it is Lundberg who gets loose initially and causes this. Oh dear! And Linus is the first one to get involved there. He must have damage with all that. Number 12, who's that? Getting into contact with the wall there.
Marcus Hagman.
Okay, yeah, that's a bad day for Marcus Hagman. I've wondered if it was because he's had a very difficult day so far, and he is second place in the point standings. Broström third place in the point standings. So it looks like Byfeldt's lead might get even bigger, whether he actually wins this race or not.
And Additon was involved, the number 24, who has done both of the first two races, but he really struggled after, it was basically DNF in the first race, wasn't it? So basically got no points. So he's a long, long way back, P13 in the standings, but he is someone who you'd expect when the drop scores come into it, that DNF getting taken away, he will be challenging towards the front. But having another difficult day today, just showing you how this championship is very, very difficult indeed. So let's see how this is going to work. Broström gets an end of line penalty as well, just to add to his woes. He's definitely going to be there for starting from the back, although I see he's already at the back of the lead lap drivers. So tough day out there for the 71, but we still have a third of this race still to go. 2/3 down, a third to go, and we are lining up for the restart. Gunnarsson is on the front row, Gyros on the outside. Oh no, sorry, Gyros is now on the second row. Byfeldt on the outside, Ericsson, Gyros in behind, but Gyros is on older tyres. That's going to really slow up Bohlin in behind him. As we get back going here at Richmond Raceway, we're going almost 3 wide in towards the first corner. We are 3 wide as Arisson's on the outside. Bohlin gets past Gyros, who's going backwards on those old tyres. Yeah,
he is, and that's to be expected, really. He's hanging out for later on, but unfortunately I think increasingly this is the wrong call actually for Gyros, because how long is it going to take for him to drop the lap down? I'm not sure it's going to take him very long at all. Hagen's shot there is right with him. Kenneth Cheer as well, looking on the way down towards turn 1 on a cleaner restart this time.
That's what we want to see. There's still a little bit of side-by-side in the background. I think it's Skoglund and Gyros as Gyros goes backwards even further, but the top 3, look at this battle. Gunnarsson, Byfeldt, Ericsson, the top 3 names remaining in this front battle, and they're all in P1, 2, 3. They're really pushing their way forward. Ericsson can't keep up. Broström is having issues further down after being involved in that wreck, and this is what we've came for. These drivers battling it out on fresh tyres at the front.
Yeah, Byfeldt traditionally better on a longer run. We haven't really seen Gunnarsson in this scenario. I think in a medium-term run, I think he's slower than Byfeldt as well. Maybe 10 laps or so, he'd be okay, but I'm not sure how much longer than that he's going to be able to keep him behind. What he needs to do here, I think, is help Ericsson get past Byfeldt before he relinquishes this lead. Otherwise, Byfeldt might be off and away with the win.
That is very true. They cannot let him sit in that first place for a long period of time. Here's Dante Forsberg working his way around in the 357. Loads of smoke up ahead. He's trying to do his best and he just gets it stopped before hitting the 18, and there slides his way through to the inside. That is like a movie scene with all of the wrecked cars, but Byfeldt does get to the front. We were just saying that's not what they wanted to do, and the 2 sim race Sweden cars of Gunnarsson and Ericsson have a lot of work to do now. Yeah, they do. I think Byfeldt could be off and away now. More than 60 laps to go, but we know how quick Byfeldt is, and laps get rattled off very, very quickly here at Richmond. You'd be surprised how quickly 60 laps can get away, so you think you've got a long time remaining, but realistically, if this race goes green, it's only just over 20 minutes that they've got to try and catch him now. They've got to coordinate a pass here, the 2 of them, surely, Gunnarsson and Ericsson, and the reason I'm sensing urgency here is because Ericsson's long run speed compared to Byfeldt isn't as good. You don't want to be backed into a corner of hoping for a caution, because of course part of your team, Jonas Gunnarsson, is hoping for not a caution. He hasn't got any tyres remaining. Absolutely not, and also championship wise, Gunnarsson 5th place there. He's 35 points back. The 37, look at that, he pushed the rear end trying to side his way through. Gunnarsson obviously got the call because he definitely didn't go full speed into turn 1 there, just allowing his teammate through. But this is an important one. Gunnarsson needs these points, but at the same time, Ericsson does as well. He's P24 in the championship, out of 27. He only done 1 race, and he's not had the race that he would have wanted. Caution does come out as a 40 of Leopard is involved again. Dante Forsberg, these guys have been involved in multiple cautions. It's the whole rear end off that car now, of the 40, and that is not what the leaders would have wanted to see, as we are at about just under 60 laps remaining. Yeah, indeed. Not the first time tonight that Leppert has had trouble keeping all of his body parts attached. Oh dear, he's already got the rear end off here. So this has been going on for some time, and then gets slammed in towards turn 1.
and he's into the wall once again. So that's just insult to injury, really, for Janus Leppert, who is still on the lead lap, but I'd imagine has got quite a bit of damage on that car now.
Wow, yes, this is turning into a bit of a caution show. I mean, we were expecting it in some ways, just because of the type of track, but as I mentioned, in 184 laps, so only 24 laps shorter than last year, 10% shorter, we only had 4 cautions, and oh, look at that Forsberg, he tried to make it down, but just being on the brakes, losing the rear end slightly and just tagging the rear corner. That is a bit of a shame because he almost got out of that one, but not quite enough to avoid contact. So lap 150 is that Eck trying his best to get through and not cause contact with anyone. I'm pretty sure you're supposed to go on the outside line when you're doing these things, but anyway, he wanted to go down by the apron to try and get through.
I'm not sure there is a guide on how you should do it, really. Just don't crash into everybody on the way, I suppose. But yeah, he has got back on the lead lap now after a long period in the wilderness. Frederik Eck is going to be on the lead lap, giving us 17 again on the lead lap. Marcus Hartmann, the only driver 1 lap down, will get the free pass if there is another caution. So we see Ericsson there, lucky to escape. He's 15 laps down, persevering with this race, because if there's trouble in front, then you never know how many positions you might be able to get. I mean, for example, Forsberg was the first one to have a long repair, was 8 laps down. Straight away, Marcus Stiller retired as soon as he got back out there, so that was an immediate position, and Forsberg's gained 4 places now since he rejoined 8 laps down, so there's definitely a point to continuing on.
Absolutely, and at the end of the day, you signed up to the championship, so you might as well continue on. I always say that you've already committed your evening to racing. Just continue on for an extra hour of your life and see what is going to happen, how many points you can get. Who knows? It may just be a couple of positions later on in the championship when we get to Homestead Miami and to finish off this season. Marcus Byfeld has hit the front though, and that is the worrying nature for these drivers. He's already won the opening 2 races of the season. We're going to see Robert Eriksson just slide past his teammate. You see the tyre smoke already, and that was so close to the 2 teammates at Hexagon Nation, but this time around not quite getting in contact. Pace car comes in once more. We're getting very close to the final 50, the final quarter of the race, but Byfeld is leading. He sat pretty in the first half of the race, and now he's coming for the win. Let's see how we do on this restart. With 3 wide, is Albertson thinking about diving it down the inside. That's not going to work. So the 2 Sim Race Sweden boys are going to be happy on the exit. Is Gunnarsson and Ericsson as they go side by side. I would assume, as in the wall with all the drivers go, I'd assume Ericsson is going to be allowed to keep that second place like he was just before the last caution.
That was exceptionally close for Jo Wallin there as he dived from one side to the other, right in front of Alexander Olsen. He was only just clear. Took a lot of bravery there to go from the outside to the inside, but it has got him 4th position. If it had gone wrong, it would have got him a face full of the fence, but thankfully he's gone away with it. Down the inside for Lundberg. He is on the charge here as he tries to get back past Oscar Motin. He's in the worst position of anybody who's got no tyres left, because he's also got no track position left either, and tyres that he's spun on already in this stint, with more than 50 laps still remaining. Lundberg is going to have to fight on, but it's going to be difficult for him to finish in the top 10 from here.
Oh yes, it certainly is. And by the way, Christopher Giros still out there, lap 60 of the stint. He's down in P12 actually, so he started this run, let's say, I know we've had a couple of cautions, but this run 20 odd laps ago, he started at the front. He's now gone down to P12, so he's not doing so bad. The issue is there's only 17 on the lead lap, so he hasn't got too many positions left before he is the final driver on the lead lap. And he's waiting and waiting for the perfect opportunities to take his final set of tyres. His issue is for him is that he's now a bit stuck and is not in his hands when he can choose to make the pit stop, whereas everyone else does have a bit of an opportunity to have a bit of choice when they want to do so. We are well within range, but I would assume so. At some point in one of these cautions, people are going to dive in. Thing is, they've only done 24 laps, and we still have 50 laps to go. So they're going to want to even that out as much as possible. So anywhere within the next 15 to 20 odd laps or so is when the pit window realistically is going to start opening. But again, it depends if we go green or if there's caution.
Yeah, again, I wouldn't expect to see green flag pit stops now tonight. I think if this race goes green to the end, then we're going to see these tyres used to the very end, personally. But definitely, if there's another caution, maybe even in the last 40 laps, whenever that comes out, I think those who have got a set will go in and use it. But if there's a discrepancy in the drivers, then that makes it even more interesting. Jo Bohlin now under pressure from Alexander Additon, who's clearly got, I think, second best speed tonight, other than Marcus Beifeld, of course, who seems to be once again dominating the field. How can Additon get to second place here under green flag conditions, and how can he make sure he doesn't go out too hard on these tyres again like he seemed to in that first stage? Eventually ended up costing him any stage points at all, because he felt the need to come in there under the late caution of stage 1. In the end, couldn't get through into the top 10 and lost out on all the stage points. So being a bit more careful maybe with these tyres this time.
Certainly, you got to hold on to them, especially the rear tyres on this car. We saw in the previous season we had the next gen car, and the one before that we had a full year season of this Xfinity car, and it was certainly a very interesting season to see that, because in 23 we had a full season next gen, and the year after that went to full season of this car, and there was a big difference, big shift in the driving style and in the way that the rear end works. And it's certainly a lot more for the drivers to hold on to. As you see the 24, they're sliding all over the place. And then the fact that we have the tyre limit as well, you have to be very careful with how you use the tyres in this car. You see the drivers dancing around, waiting for the opportunity to get on the throttle, but you've got to be so patient.
You do. It's one of those venues, perhaps more than most, where you have to be very patient on the throttle. Can't think of any others on this calendar, especially where that will be such a problem. It's just the way these turns end really so gradually, and obviously the banking quite steep as well, coming off quite quickly as well down the back stretch. Just 2 degrees of banking coming out of the 14-degree turns. Front stretch a little bit different, but of course the turn continues to go on. It's not really a front straight at all, it's just a front bend really, and that means that getting the power out of there is difficult as well. Additon finding this overtake difficult at the moment. That higher entry, that higher line, causing trouble again. It's quite a good way of defending really, just running slightly off the bottom, not quite allowing the driver in behind to get themselves down the inside.
Nor the outside, although as we mentioned that even the midline hasn't quite been okay in terms of the overtakes. So as you see, Bohlin doing a good job. He's not allowing a car whip to the inside, and nowhere for the 24 to dive. And they're all on the same age tyres once again. There's a big send to the inside this time though. Bohlin massively off. He was looking good for a few laps there, but he was not really defending as much as he would have wanted. The 24 getting a good run off too. The door was wide open, and Bohlin didn't really do much to stop that one.
No, perhaps felt like he couldn't. Harrison up to 4th place now has cost him quite some time. He's got a second to get to Gunnarsson, who will be praying there's no cautions. And then a little bit further up to Ericsson as well. Beifeld is going to be very difficult to catch from here. I'm not sure anybody can catch him really at this stage. It's about maximising this race from here and in for Additon, and a top 3 would probably be maximising this race as it stands.
Yeah, I think in the situation, yeah, that would be very true. As we've seen, Kenneth Tier, your winner of the opening race of the previous season in the next-gen car. He was able to take his first victory for Polski Logistics, but now we come into this B-Class car, not quite so much, and he's in the Polski Aviation division. If that has anything to do with the cars flying in crashes, we'll have to find out as the season progresses, but his teammate Lars Bulker certainly had his fair share of the incidents so far. But this is a lot better from Kenneth, P7 as it stands. As mentioned, everyone on the same strategy, so let's see. Though actually, I say that Hogger shot behind him, who, just remind his 100th race in this series, he actually had a shorter pit stop, so he probably only took 2 tyres last time.
Yeah, that makes it very awkward later on. I mean, what do you do with just 2 tyres left, if indeed that's a scenario? You put them on or leave them. You could be terribly unbalanced if we run quite long here, and then you end up taking 2 tyres late. But as we've seen already, late tyre change is going to be so crucial, because the difference is massive. We're already over a second off of best lap times for the likes of Marcus Beifeld at the front, and you know it's visual around this circuit. It's such a short circuit that more than a second is really visual. That means, I think, whenever there's a caution here, if there is another one, we're going to see absolutely everybody who's got them down onto pit lane, and Gunnarsson is going to have, the opposite of whatever the opposite of the time of his life is, because he'll be at the front and he'll have no tyres on, with everybody behind with 4 fresh ones. But Marcus Byfeld, I think, will be just as pleased if this race continues on for the next 15 minutes running green. That's all that's left, if indeed there are no more cautions. And he's looking very, very comfortable at the front.
Yes, this is what we've become accustomed to this season. Now that a little bit of tyre wear's come into it, his consistency at the front is just leaps ahead of the other drivers. I mean, we've seen this from Jesper Eriksson in the previous 2-3 years, and we've been saying all the good things, but now Eriksson is the one being left in the dust. Byfeld is the new driver to this series, not necessarily new to the league, but new to this series, and is absolutely flying away with it. 2 wins so far. Out of the first 2 races. Out of the first 3 stages, he's now won 2. So he's looking very, very good up towards the front. And someone needs to come and stop him if they're going to win this championship. It's a shame, as I said, for Linus Broström to have that issue. He's down in P13. He's still on the lead lap, but he's on an awkward stint in terms of the tyres and everything. So he's going to have a tough one to the end. He's a half a lap down.
Absolutely. As Janus Leppert goes a full lap down now. First time we've seen that from him. He had decent speed earlier. Unfortunately, the incidents of the day have rather taken that away from him, taken the chances of a good result out of him as well, by the looks of things. And that's not good news for Marcus Hagman, by the way, because now he's no longer in the free pass position. The second place driver in points looks like he's going to end up tonight 1 lap down. Third place in points, Linus Broström, is currently outside the top 10. Leppert is 4th in points. He's just gone a lap down. Jonas Gunnarsson is compromised on that tyre strategy, but for now running in 3rd. He's 5th place in points. Everybody who's anywhere near Marcus Byfeld is having another difficult day. As you mentioned, there are drop rounds to factor in, but in terms of total points, Byfeld is running away with this.
Yes, and what it means is, even though the drop rounds aren't really affecting him so far, it means he's locking in his rounds that will count towards the championship, which means if he has a couple of bad races later, it doesn't really matter for him. And it means that the other drivers will have to match these results or better them. But how can you better someone that's winning? So it's going to be a tough ask, and Byfeld is really putting his name forward. This is only a third of the way into the championship, though. We do have a 9-race calendar so far. We've got Echo Park coming in a couple of weeks, New Hampshire, Kansas, Bristol, Talladega, and Homestead, Miami between now and May. Certainly a whole load of fun tracks going, and a bit of a sort of a difference in the tracks as well. The short tracks, the super speedways as well. Kansas is always great fun. And of course, Bristol is just, a bowl that is going to be quite interesting on the 9th of April. So I think it's going to be a very fun season to come, and I'm looking forward to see who's going to be challenging Marcus Byfeld.
Yeah, if indeed anybody can, really. I think you're looking for the first big opportunity at Echo Park in 2 weeks' time for me, formerly Atlanta. And there indeed it is, 8 p.m. Central European time as always, RaceSpotTV. I refuse to call it Echo Park, really. Atlanta, I'm going to try and continue to call it. But
why is it that? Because everywhere is like the name of the town, as you say, like Richmond or the state, I guess, like Richmond or Kansas, etc. But then Echo Park, the one that stands out.
So yeah, it's a sponsor's name, I think, and that very much reflects every other stadium in America, which is sponsored by something. And so I fear that's the beginning of the end. But anyway, that's besides the point. We're all going to have to remember which sponsors attached to which stadium, and indeed which town or city it's in, or state. And that's going to be a headache for us. But anyway, Atlanta it is. But it's the track changes. It's the bit that will interest the drivers. The fact that it is now called a super speedway. I must say I'm not particularly a fan personally, and I think it could be quite a caution-filled race actually in 2 weeks' time. It's nowhere near as wide as Daytona even. It's certainly not anywhere near as wide as Talladega, and it makes super speedway racing even more likely to cause crashes. But the reason I point it out, it's probably the first chance for Byfeld to get caught up in something really, and first chance for him to properly trip up, because so far it's been pretty faultless.
I do like it though, because it's different. And I guess every track needs to have its unique aspect. and the fact of adding in that banking and everything, just call it Atlanta. I think probably we'll end up doing that, Dane. Yeah, I think the fact that each track can have its own thing, let's say, and that is certainly the one for that track. There are, I haven't said that actually, I'm just looking up and down the calendar. Every track is pretty unique in that regard, with the flatness of Nashville, of course Talladega, Super Speedway, Bristol, the Bowl, New Hampshire as well, a bit more flat track. So it's definitely a varied calendar.
And I like the fact we're ending at Homestead. I think where all seasons should end, personally. Mile-and-a-half racetrack always provides good racing. 333 kilometres around there on that evening, by the way. It's going to be quite a long one, but a good way to end the season, definitely, with 138 laps around there. I get what you're saying about the differentiation, the uniqueness of all these venues. Haven't really got any repeats. I guess Kansas and Auto Club are probably the two most similar, but they're also slightly different, and they're not very near each other in the season at all. So there is a difference there. The problem I have with Atlanta, yes, it is unique, but it's different, but different and worse, not different and better, which is. But that's just my opinion. Hopefully, it's a good race though in a couple of weeks, and there's minimal cautions, because I have seen some very stop-start races there in my time.
Sorry, just Dane roasting Ewan in the comments.
I mean, they are still the same, other than the distance. What's the other difference?
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's a bit more of a tri-oval, not quite, but sort of the way at Kansas. But yes, I agree on what you're saying, that they are the most similar, but they're all individual in their own right, to be honest. And a Homestead, also just with the lines as well, like Homestead running up towards the wall, that'll be good fun. I remember a battle between Ericsson and Haflidason for the title in our championship decider a couple of years ago. That was certainly quite something there at Homestead. Very, very interesting, to be honest. I want to see that again. Will there be a title decider with the drop rounds? That's going to be a lot harder to calculate at the time. As it stands, the drop rounds won't be needed. 20 laps to go here for the Additon 250. Beifeld is leading by almost 2 seconds to Jesper Eriksson. Another 2 seconds off back to Gunnarsson, and then Aronson as well. And I think you're right. It's staying green, and therefore all the drivers are staying out to the end. They're not risking any green flag stops, and to be honest, we're past the point where you'd make the green flag stop anyway, because there's not enough laps to gain any time back.
Yeah, I think we've always been in that scenario since we went green and had that most recent restart. I don't think there was ever a point at which you could make the difference in as far as your tyres would be better and you could actually make up the time. I'm not sure there was a point in the race where that would have been the case, but I wouldn't call off at late caution just yet. We've seen it before. We saw it actually in the stage where we thought we were running to the end and it ended up not happening. Cautions do come out of nowhere here. I mean, one of the most recent ones taken out because the driver running in 22nd place was taken out by someone on a lead lap, and that is just how weird things can get around here on occasion with cautions coming out. So you just never know around here. It's one of those short tracks where caution could be around the corner at any time. Not quite like Bristol, but it is not, in terms of caution numbers, it's been dissimilar tonight. We've seen quite a few, in a contrast really to the race we saw in April of last year.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Bristol, really, to see how we're going to go. We've been there the last few years, and I just want to have a look. Well, actually, I say that the last Bristol that I can see that we did, which was in September in 2024, there were 18 cautions. So
yes,
I don't think we're quite going to get to that.
we didn't even do all the race. We missed the last 50 kilometres of the race or something. There were so many cautions, if I remember rightly.
Yes, we hit the time limit that time around. So that is it's an interesting one. I wonder if we're going to get that again. Looking at the laps, so I would assume it probably would have been 250 laps, and we ended up with 244. So we lost 6 laps, actually, I think, unless the race was longer that time around. Maybe that's the reason why Linus made it 250 this year, is what I mean.
I think it was much more than that. I think it might have been more than, certainly less than 300. I think it might have been more than 250 though. I don't know. Maybe I'm misremembering, but I certainly remember hitting the time limit on that particular day. And to be honest, I think the chances of hitting the time limit are more likely than not, actually. Bristol, it's just so difficult. I mentioned the difficulty of squeezing on the power through here because of the way you come off the turns and whatever. We've seen Jesper Eriksson sideways at pretty much every chance. But Bristol's another one of those. Even on your own, you can get pretty loose there coming off of, because it's banking so steep as well. It's steeper than here. And as you're trying to get on the power, it just makes it very tricky.
Yes, absolutely is. As we are seeing Jarl Bohlin, who's been in the battles today, good and bad, and now he's trying to get himself a top 4 against Additon, the number 24, who's had a bit of a rib bash there on the car, sliding down the inside of turn number 1. The 43 is going to do on the exit onto the back straight. Jarl Bohlin is going to have the run, but actually, with a bit of contact, he loses that momentum. And Additon is doing his best to hold on here. He does really need these points, to be honest, after a disappointing start to the year.
Yeah. And unfortunately, a disappointing end to this race. He's shown good speed in the medium runs, but long run speed for Jarl Bohlin seems to be a little bit better. And Peter Harbrough's catching them both as a result here. Bohlin looking down the inside of Additon that time round again into turn 3. Here he goes again. Oh, Additon covers. He's got to be careful with that, otherwise he could get shunted into turn 3. And this is where some of those are going to be looking around nervously. See whether there's a late caution here. It's if it's going to come from anywhere, then it would be between these two.
It certainly would. 10 laps to go. The lead is now 3 seconds, and another 3 seconds back to Gunnarsson. So the gaps are just getting exaggerated as the stint goes on, and as the worn tyres really starting to hinder these drivers. Obviously, we're on to laps or 66, 67 for these drivers of the stint, and we were really expecting this to be the absolute maximum the drivers go, and now they've got to push another 10 laps just because of the way that the cautions have fallen. Is there going to be one final twist in the tail, as we're seeing actually I've just realised Linus Broström, he's still P13 as he was a few laps ago, but he's now gone a lap down. That is not good for him in any sort of late caution situation. He is currently the lead lapper, but then if obviously Byfeld continues on lapping drivers, he won't be, and he'll have to be stuck a lap down.
Yeah, next up will be Erik Lundberg, and he's not very far away from being lapped right now by Byfeld either, but there's only a couple of laps in this race left anyway. Byfeld doesn't need to put these guys a lap down, just covering himself really from a late caution here, putting as many out of the equation as possible, as Bohlin, continues to apply the pressure to Additon. Into turn 3, seems to have his best opportunity, and he can't quite get to the inside again. But Additon's playing a dangerous game there by covering late, as we've seen already. Guys be on the receiving end of contact when defending like that.
Absolutely, and Jarl Bohlin, he's down in P20 in the standings. He's third last of all the drivers to do both races so far, struggling a bit to get the results that he would have wanted. Hasn't had a top 10 start at all. He's only got 55 points to his name, whereas 123 for Marcus Byfeld, so less than half of that. But he is, of course, trying to work his way forward now in this race, and he has completed only 4 less laps than the total amount in those races. So it wasn't like he had crashes and finished multiple laps down. He only lost 4 laps out of 2 races. It's not so bad, really. But this would be a great result to parachute him up the championship. And it's the same situation for Additon as well. As we're going up the inside in towards turn 1, we've seen this before. The 24 has been able to hold on. And once again, around the outside, the Polski Logistics car is looking strong.
He is on the outside. Oh, and again, tucks to the inside late. Oh, it's close between these two, and they're actually letting Hellbro catch up, although I don't think he's got the speed. I think he's only in touch with these guys, to be honest, because they're fighting so hard. Additon defending late, and is Bohlin going to lose patience with him in these last couple of laps and give him a little nudge, or is he going to play fair here in the final few laps in this battle for 4th position? I'm not sure quite which way this race is going to go, because Bohlin's been quicker for a while here, and he'll feel he probably deserves to finish 4th, but can he make the pass here, and how aggressive is he willing to be to make it?
There's only 2 laps to go in this race. Not very long for these drivers to try and make the overtake. 8 corners, but let's see this. They're going to go quickly around here, less than 30 seconds a lap. And it is looking good for Marcus Byfeld, who's going to come and take the white flag here for the Additon 250. The Street Trends driver, he's won the first 2 races of the season. He came out swinging once again in this race. He held back in the first half, but then when it mattered, he went to the front for the stage win. And on strategy, on pace, he's had it covered, and the 105 is going to go 3 for 3 to start this Season 9, the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan season, and he takes another victory to his name, with Ericsson and Gunnarsson rounding out the podium.
Yeah, it's a remarkable start to the season for Marcus Byfeld. He's coming under hitherto unforeseen pressure in the road series, but in the oval series he's absolutely dominating in a way that he normally does in the road. 3 wins out of 3. And as we've mentioned time and again, the drop rounds are going to make this season look a lot closer by the time we get a little bit later on, but he's banking those wins for the future, for times in the future where he doesn't win, if indeed those arise. For the first third of this season, he has taken victories every time. That is a remarkable performance from Marcus Byfeld, and it's not like he's gotten it with late runs or late overtakes or anything like that. It's just pure speed the whole way through that he's taken this race win with another pretty dominant performance this time.
And it's a shame that he doesn't like doing interviews in English. Maybe we should learn Swedish, because it'd be nice to speak to him, but unfortunately doesn't come to join us. But we enjoy his racing out there and giving us a great broadcast, because the 105 machine is fast, and he takes victory here after 208 laps by 5 seconds. Ericsson and Gunnarsson round out your podium. Aronson and Bohlin inside the top 5, with Helmro, Schott, Tier, Motin and Erling inside your top 10. All of those 5 drivers actually not doing too bad of a job. Skoglund, Lundberg, Broström, Giros, Eck, Kjellberg, Leppit, Hagman, Bolka and Broström, your drivers laps down. And then Holmer, Ericsson, Forsberg, Uvinen and Stiller having some big problems. Aronson getting the fastest lap there as well on lap number 10. But just a note there, Linus Broström, yes, he was P13 in the end. That's a whole load of points being lost. But let's get a word with the drivers inside the top 3. And the first one is going to be Jesper Eriksson of the number 37. Jesper, your pace was looking really, really strong today once again, but not quite enough at the end there to catch Marcus Byfeld.
For sure not. He's just amazing at driving. It's insane. It's such a wonderful thing to see him or not wonderful to see him drive away like that, but it's impressive. I'm not mad. I'm just here for fun this season, and to see that is just so fun. And to race him, it's wonderful because he races so respectfully each time. Never a problem with him, and it's just magical, to be honest. Absolutely magical.
And talk us through this race a little bit. We had quite a few cautions in the end, which, to be honest, we were expecting. How did you find, all of those restarts? Sometimes we had cautions, 3 in a row, back to back. It must have been a little bit awkward in that middle part of the race.
I like it. I like it. I like this kind of sprint stuff, when just caution and just hammer it, trying to take people on the outside, try to take people on the inside. I like it. So for me, it's no worries. It's just like the race start. You just focus on what you are right now. Try to do the best from there. So for me, not really that much of a problem.
Yeah, perfect. And in the end, we had a long green flag run. What was that? About 75 laps to the end. We saw a lot of drivers struggling on the rear end of the car. How difficult was it to try and keep it in line? Because you never really knew how long your stint was going to be. So how did you manage those rear tires?
Oh, that's the hard part, especially in the heat we're driving in now. It's such a hard thing to do. You feel the car, it's quite good turning in the middle of the corner. When you go on throttle, it just snaps and you lose all confidence. But you just do what you gotta do. I know over the start-finish turn straight, or whatever these American call it, it's loose. You can feel the wheel twitching back and forward. And that's also what's so impressive with Marcus. He just drives out to the corner, each corner just like it's nothing. I try to hang out around the outside, and he just, I'm on inside, he's on outside. No match. It's such a fun thing to see.
So how many races can we expect you doing for the remainder of the season? We've got 6 more.
I think I can do Bristol and the races after that. I'm gonna be gone now for a few weeks, so I'm not gonna be here, sadly. But hopefully I can do Bristol. Hopefully I can do Kansas. No idea when that is, but it's my favorite track, so hopefully. But yeah, that's what you can expect me.
Yeah, perfect. Well, we look forward to speaking to you in the comms booth once again. Congratulations for today.
Thanks, boys.
Nice one. And then we will bring in the number 3 of Jonas Gunnarsson, number 33 for Simrace Sweden, and having a fairly strong day out there, Jonas, to be honest, with your speed leading and some of the restarts there, batting up towards the front. But the first thing I need to ask you about is that incident, that contact with Peter Helmbro, I believe it was, the 77, causing the caution. What were your thoughts of that incident?
Yeah, turn 1 and 2, I went a little high to get some speed on the exit, and I saw him hit the wall on the exit, so I tried to pass him, but when he drove into the wall, he just turned his wheel left and tried to cover, and I had overspeed, so I think it was a race incident, but I didn't brake any later or anything, just he hit the wall and he turns left to cover me, but I have so much more speed into the corner, so yeah. Sorry to Peter.
Yeah, certainly going to be a tough one if that costs you some points, because in general, turning things to a positive note, your pace was looking pretty good today. And then at the end,
that was a penalty?
Well, I'm just saying, I don't know. The race
no, but what do you think about it?
Well, that's not for me to decide, fortunately. With the
say what you can tell me.
Well, I think maybe there's a little bit more fault on your side, so I'm a little bit worried for losing a couple of points there for the championship, which is going to be so close at the end of it. But in general, your pace was good. You recovered well with the strategy. You took the new tyres. You stormed your way back to the front of the field. That must have at least been a fun stint on the new tyres.
Yeah, and after I was in the lead, I tried to fuel save, hoping the race went green from there. I had the fuel to the finish, and too bad the yellow came out.
Yes, certainly. So P3 over at the end. I saw at one point you were sort of let through Jesper. Was that for any reason, or just because he had a bit more pace at that time?
He had more pace. I killed my right front. I don't know how to drive it fast without killing the right front, so I tried to save the tires this stint more than I did in the first stint. So that's why I told him to go past. I don't want to fight you right now. Mm-hmm. And if I had the pace, I would fight him at the end, but
absolutely. Then looking forward to Echo Park in a couple of weeks' time. What are your thoughts of that track? Might be a bit crazy with the high speeds that we're going to see then.
Yeah, I like that track, actually. Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Yeah, certainly. It's going to be a whole load of fun. So well done on your podium today, and we'll speak to you next time, Jonas.
Yeah, thank you.
Perfect. And that brings to the end the Additon 250 here from Richmond Raceway. It's been a whole load of fun, and let's see what happens next time out when we go to Echo Park in a couple of weeks' time for the Area 81 Speedway race. It is going to be an interesting season. Marcus Byfeld, 3 wins from 3. Can anyone challenge him? Of course, we go to various other tracks like New Hampshire, Kansas, Bristol, Talladega, and Homestead in May to find our champion finally. But don't forget, next week as well, we go racing back on the road course series. We are in this full swing of GT3 racing, and it's going to be at Laguna Seca as well on the 19th of February. It's been myself, Cam Roger, Ewan O'Leary alongside me, and Dane Baird on the production of this RaceSpot TV broadcast. And until next time, we wish you a very warm goodbye.